like the stars at night. I wake up in the morning and I greet the sun. Connected with this star is everyone. Infinite energy, pure white light. Your hearts are shimmering like the stars at night. One human mind, one human heart will heal a Mother Earth with this sacred art. Master of ceremonies, humble MC. I sing out the message that was given to me by ancient line of warriors traveling the galaxy. Mother Earth is bigger than the eye could see. We live on a valley like ants on a tree. This is all made up, an illusion to me. There is no poverty, just low paying jobs and low self-esteem. High interest loans, they call payday advances. If you don't have the money, they don't give you chances. Can't pay your rent, can't pay your bills. So much pressure, it'll give you chills. But I try to stay sane, pop two to the brain. Thank you, happiness, you smell so sweet, taste like sugar cane. Everything is one where the people of the sun prophesize to come and share the wisdom of the masters. Don't call me preacher, don't call me pastor. I flow with the flow of a natural disaster, but stay as calm as a Toltec master. Sit meditating, infinite creating, waiting patiently for that next day to come. Where I wake up every morning and I greet the sun. Connected with the star is everyone. Infinite energy, pure white light. Your hearts are shimmering like the stars at night. One human mind, one human heart will heal a Mother Earth with the sacred art. Master of ceremonies, humble MC. I sing out the message that was given to me. Ancient line of warriors traveling the galaxies.
Nuestro sol se ha ido. Nuestro sol se ha ocultado y nos ha dejado sumidos en las sombras. Pero sabemos que volverá a salir.
I travel through the Aztec calendar ages. I speak the tongue of mystic sages. Escaped all your prisons and all of your cages. I live the evolution of human stages. From hunter-gatherer to great mathematician, I built the pyramids in complex position underneath the heavens. I left a map of stars, follow the red road. It isn't that hard, it just takes all of your will and the warrior skill. Never to spill the sacred blood that fills and courses through my veins. I carried all of the pain, I carry the heavy chain of a conquered people. For 500 years we have never been equal. Deported immigrant in my own land, neglected orphan who don't understand why their mom and dad hasn't come home for days. Hungry and alone, left in the days. Put your hand over your heart and repeat after me. This is starting to look like Nazi Germany, murdering the peaceful with police brutality. And the racist Congress passes bills against the poor. Silent weapons for silent wars. But my heart stays pure and my love endures. With Mama Tonantzin, I will find a cure. With my grandpa Tatawari, my intentions stay strong. And my soul belongs to the line of stars. Deep in the Milky Way, in the Nipi I pray for the warriors of heart to come and take away. With this verse I'll slay the animals of prey. The Atlas Chinoli sun has come our way. Lead your family to a brand new day. Lead your family to a brand new day.
Dejaron para nosotros nuestros venerables abuelos. Y con ese mismo cariño y empeño hemos de inculcárselo a nuestros hijos para que ellos lo enseñen a los hijos de sus hijos de sus hijos. Y no olvidemos decirles y enseñarles. ¿Cómo será? fuerza y cómo concluirá nuestra gloriosa náhuatl su grandioso destino.
Yo. Here we go.
Here we go. What's up?
Sweet AZ Sugar making fry bread while listening in. Thank you very much.
I like it.
Right on. I love the community that comes from, that pays attention from so far away. We really appreciate your participation. So hopefully, I'm going to give away a little bit of my merch today. And so what we're going to do is whoever joins the chat and interacts, we're going to write your name down, put in a raffle, and then hopefully, announce the winner. But, we have a bunch of things that we have that we can share with you. And that's the one thing about our community is we always pay tribute to the people we love. So we love you, those that come on the chat and share their opinions. And it's not easy to, want to interact in that way. But, whether it be to what we're talking about in the favor of it or not, everyone has an opinion, and Kalpuli should have difference of opinion in a respectful way.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
we always try to keep the conversation like an hour and a half. Sometimes it's 2 hours, but we're definitely going to be on till 10:30.
Well, we got HK on
Pacific Standard Time.
2 hours.
Well, we're an organic
Shout
matter
out
brewing,
Shout
Hey,
out.
baby,
We are
shout
going to
out
be
to Lord.
updating our time. Usually we are promoting 8 p.m.
But we usually get here by 9. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
it's fashionable.
On native time.
But you know what? Like, I want to incorporate something else. I want to start going live at 8 as we promote.
Mhm.
As you know, people do just dive right in. As they know, we always go live between 8:30 and 9. But starting next year, I'm going to play more music. Maybe get DJ Survive in here, get Warlock in here. I just want to make it more music oriented, if you know what I mean, Zero. Like, let's take it back to the roots.
Yeah.
know?
Well, it's crazy that you're saying that because today I was reviewing the old episodes. I took a clip. The latest clip I put on IG was from an episode, I think, number 4. It was kind of me just kind of learning how to engage with an audience. It's really not there. It's just kind of a camera. And now we have a chat that just look at it. It's already lit up and they're sharing their opinion. And we appreciate you sharing your opinion because then it tells us that we're building a Kalpuli, that there are other voices that are out there that are ready to absorb the message or share the message, whatever it may be. Your contribution to this podcast, even if you're listening on the replay, we completely, humbly appreciate your participation. And I wanted to say that because we've been doing this for a long time. I was reviewing,
Yeah, I've been going through a lot of updates on the software. Our camera went out a couple weeks ago. I had to buy a new camera. Usually when we start live, there's a slight echo with our guest, obviously Daniel. But I went in and fixed that.
Oh, cool. I'm not echoing no more?
You're not echoing anymore. But man, dude, I think we're a good 3 years in, Zero. Like, believe it or not, that's amazing, bro. And
you know what I like about 3 years is that not only did we do this podcast, but we started the store, we started Plant Based Aslan, and we're 3 years strong on Indigenous Peoples Day.
yeah,
And this year we got to close the street off, which was a miracle in itself because Malinali doesn't have a lot of funding. As a matter of fact, we're going to be launching a GoFundMe because we're pretty seriously, just barely getting by and just letting the community know. But that's my issue. But
Well, Ruben, it's kind of everyone's issue, but at the same time, brother, we'll come together, and that was a great event, man. I think that was good.
yeah. And we have to continue. Whenever I get into this position where I have to, what people call stressing, I always, I'm normal. It's gonna happen to me too. But whenever I get into that state of mind, I push it up against my intention, right? It's like, what am I doing there? I'm not being a capitalist. I'm not exploiting the food. I'm actually showing reverence to a community that never gets recognized and gets marginalized because of their mixed blood and because they can't prove whatever they need to prove. You know, the intention that's there at Malinali is a very humble, very rooted intention, you know, and it's and we know we're going to keep it strong. So just keep lookout on our social media, and we'll be updating everybody with what needs to be contributed so that we can continue doing what we're doing. The podcast, Plant Based Aslan, Indigenous Peoples Day are all kind of were born at the same time. And this LA Natives podcast is what kind of gave it life. So everyone here on the chat that's participating in this movement, in this way of life, it's not even a movement, it's a way of life. This isn't a style. This is the way we are. And the more you learn about our ancestors and our culture, this plant-based Aslan, Daniel will be doing a workshop. And
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. To doing
yeah,
the
talk a little bit about that, Daniel.
well, just doing the cultural parts, and even still talking about. I'm still buzzing off of the Indigenous Peoples Day. Was really just a great event. And can I say a shout out to like really all that one drum circle, the women that had that one drum. Man, I mean, I met a lot of them, and it just was nice, Ruben, to have, with much respect, that anti, kind of vibe there. And they were just really, really putting their time in, and just really, it was nice to, because I'm from out of town, but just to come in and get that vibe of a very native feel and the drum and just all the people, Ruben, that were there to just participate and make the event happen. I was just, man, really set aside, because I had planned to do my thing, and then I just saw, man, there was just a need to get some things, here and there. It did turn out to be a really great experience, like meeting. But I have to say too, I really wanted to throw this in. And this is what my soft spot is at seeing the restaurant being run by your kids, your partner Aurelio's kids, all those kids working and being part of this entrepreneurial kind of native idea, and to see those kids there really just made my heart melt. I don't have kids, man, but I looked and I thought, man, it was just, and they were having fun, and they were just, everyone was just coming together, and everyone was in a really good mood. Nobody, it was just such a good experience, Ruben, and I just want to thank you. And I think a lot of the time, it's like when you throw a party, man, the people that throw the party, they don't really get to enjoy the party. They got to make sure everything's still going and it's okay, because part of the reason you do it so that people can enjoy that day, and it's just so many people came through, and it just
the intention, it's like I just said, there's a lot of things that I do just so that I have the strength enough to do it, because you're right, Daniel. I had to make sure that the restaurant was taken care of, the event was taken care of, plus the performance side of things. It was a lot on my plate, and luckily that we did have some help.
Well, people stepped up, Ruben. And like I said, I want to thank.
Shout out Yvonne.
Right.
Shout out,
yeah, I mean, all those people that, I mean, like,
it was a lot. If I forgot you, I'm sure I'll remember during the podcast.
Well, I mean, I'm terrible with names, man, but they were just there all day, and everyone was just so good, Ruben. And it just, what else too, man? Who was it? I was, it was really nice, Ruben, to just have people. Torres. Right, I can't get ET, but the thing is, man. Okay, I know myself. I just met the neatest people, and like people came up and said, "Hey, are you Daniel from the podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah," and just like, man. But in particular, like the indigenous cats, Calm and Ina, man, those two really made my day. Like, so I shout out to those two, man. Really, man, just. You just meet artists, you see them sing, and but then you get to see the other side to them, and it's just really neat, and I think we were able to just share, some time, and it just was cool, man. Just all the art, and again too, like Limon. Oh my God, that guy is just like, that's your homie from back in the day, but to meet that guy, and then also too, to finally in the flesh to sit there and burn with Armando, and have him sit in my car and say, Armando, this is my perfume.
Yeah.
So
Those are good days.
That's right, man. Thank you for the gift, man. I'm still sitting on a little bit of that, man. It's powerful stuff, man.
that's funny because, brother, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I had planned to have you like 4 or 5 ounces, bro. It's just like, hey, Mondo, try this, like, but it was just, brother, I just wanted to impress you, man, to know you're a fellow stoner, and so it's,
Absolutely, brother.
I'm like, that's my passion, bro. Is like cannabis is my passion, my people, my culture. Like, I feel very blessed that, and again, dude, that's a place where, I could just do my thing and people, it's nice. It was a nice place to share
Yeah,
the love
shout
of
out,
what we do. It was
shout out to all the vendors. The whatever vendors came and were able to contribute whatever they contributed. I mean, this is
right.
really how we kind of put this event together. There was no major funding. We put piecemealed something together for all indigenous people to feel comfortable in who they are, to come and participate with individuals who are on the road to finding out who they are. Um, you know, I finally got to a place where I was given a responsibility to provide something for the community. Back in the day, it was a group of us called XRF, and we did our best to provide a yearly programming for our community in this way. But my intention was a little focused in the way that trying to do it every day. Because that's why we have Malinali Superfoods on Whittier. So if you ever want to feel that vibe, if you ever want to get into that energy of Indigenous Peoples Day, of plant-based aslan, of whatever it is, the store is open.
Well, and along those lines, Ruben, what I also wanted to shout out to my homegirl Yuli, who Yuli was, helped to MC, was the poet that day, and so I don't know, I was so jazzed on that event, and that I kind of was thinking, let's put together something for Day of the Dead, and so we're kind of
So
putting that.
we're working on an event. It's going to be fairly, promoted not very long, like we usually do. We're trying to get out of that rut. But we're going to call it Voces de los Muertos. We're going to feature a few poets. We're working on that, and then have a little bit of an open mic, some music, some visuals, and it will be a 21 and over event. It'll be after hours at a secret location.
And just you figure, my whole thing is just to be sharing the flowers, the harvest, and I'll be teaching or giving some little bit of knowledge or a little bit of story
We're
about
going
Day
to
of
have
the Dead.
special guests. I'm going to have my friends come and enjoy the night with us, and they'll get fed, and they'll be able to partake in whatever we decide to share with the people. We're working on pulque for the night. So,
and remember, we're on that concept of giving you flowers before you die. So that's the thing too. Is that we're
yeah,
Mali
so I can talk about the Day of the Dead, a little bit of the Day of the Dead.
Yeah,
The road, man.
Well,
Yeah.
think about it, brother. Hello, it's like, dude, think about it. It's kind of like it's just the unspoken. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I came up with this company at Nawak, and I said, dude, I thought you were gonna make it Mexican. It's like, man, if you know what a Nawak is, I don't even need to tell you. Like, if you're down with it, you're down with it. It's kind of like the unspoken. And so, I hey, but also give a shout out to George. Was the first one online to say from Southeast LA. So, brother George, a good shout out to you too.
Cannon's
Yeah,
always
shout
there.
out George
He loves,
Cannon.
I love seeing him at the Indigenous Peoples Day. He always
Well, I
looks
mean, that's the
like-
thing, bro. It's so
always
beautiful to
shows
have all these people.
love.
Like I said, it was cool to have people going, hey, and just acknowledging, because really, Ruben, okay, I say this all the time, but it's the unseen. Do you know what I mean? It's what you don't see, but it's what you feel, and so many people were just so nice, and just to meet so many people, that just make everything happen. And also to a shout out to Javi, man, Javi, who helped put together all the vendor stuff, because it's just
No,
a
shout out
thankless-
Javi. Yes.
it's a thankless
Helped
job a
plan
lot
for-
of those times, and it's just I mean, and I know people aren't looking to get thanked, but it's just, man, it is nice to see it when
I'm sure. Well, if you pop in a name, say it throughout the podcast. We got about another 45 minutes.
you're funny. But
No,
the thing is, Ruben, but it's an ongoing thing, and I think, like
well,
I said,
it is ongoing, because I think that in my meditation, in my intention, in my energy of life, there was inconsistency from the colonial side of things. A whole lot of inconsistency in the religion, inconsistency in just my simple parenting, But now, if I'm to say, well, I want to study the calendars, Well, what were the calendars used for? What were they used for? What were special days for?
It's a good point. It's a good
You
point.
know, the intention behind that event was the love I have for my family, for my community, for my people. That's what it's there, and it to be repeated over and over again, even after I'm gone. That's what I feel like the abuelos did. They're putting this ceremony together so that you can continue to do it and continue to do it on this day because it's important because these stars are out and continue to do it until you can't do it no more, till your last breath. That I kind of want to build those type of systems, and I felt like for the last 3 years, I did my best to do that. One, create the events, create the space, create the events, and be consistent with them. And so far, so good. We've done 3 years of plant-based Aslan. We've done 3 years of Malinali Superfoods, and we're on our third year of Indigenous Peoples Day. The one year where you can gather and just be a little bit native and just know a little bit about your indigeneity, or you can know a lot like Daniel and he shares with everyone.
You're silly. The thing is, Ruben, man, I don't know a lot, bro. I know a little, but everyone else knows less. You know what I mean? And it's just, but here's the thing, I trip out, but I appreciate the good words, man. But I kind of wanted to just reemphasize this with people that as much as I know, Ruben, when I talk, I'm not learning shit, you know. But I learn something when I give the lecture and somebody says, "Hey, Daniel, what about this?" And so I learned a lot at Indigenous Peoples Day because a lot of people like ask me questions. Like, hey, what do you think of this? And it's just like, you know what? It's funny. I was sitting down with Vicky, my homegirl Vicky. Shout out to Vicky, and we met. I think the homegirl's name was Anna, and we were talking. I was trying to explain to them about the Aztec calendar and about the races, and she's like, "Man, you're losing me." And Vicky goes, "You're losing me too." And I'm thinking, "Oh my god, I got to stop talking," because
Mm.
if I'm losing people, I have to know, like, fuck, okay, let's just stop. Okay? But it was
Uh,
cool because, man, you sometimes I understand that it doesn't make sense, and I just feel like, man, I want to make sense, so I need to stop talking.
I remember this at Indigenous Peoples Day after I was able to share my music. He comes up to me, this dude does a YouTube channel, I guess, and goes, "Hey, bro, I have to come to your shop and sit down and you have to explain every single line that you say." It's like, well, at least you're interested enough to sit down and go over every single line I wrote. But um, I think everybody's where they're at. No one needs to be ahead of anyone.
Of course,
If you
yeah.
don't understand what Daniel's talking about, you don't know his calculus. You don't know it. And it's okay. You don't need to know it. If you don't want to know it, don't. What it's done for me, though, what it's done for me is it's replaced the consistency I should have had as a child with the consistency of the universe that never went away, even when I was going through my dysfunction as a child. Even though I'm trying to find my path, which I call the red road now, right? Those calendars are consistent because they're organized energies. And sometimes it does go over your head. But what are you going to do about it? So you're not. What are you going to do about it? Are you just going to go, it's okay, continue to go over my head and I'll never really be in balance with myself? Or are you going to take the steps to go, wow, this is a lot of information. Let me start at one point so that I can get to a point where we're exchanging intellectual conversation about who we truly are. We're brilliant people. It's deep inside of us, but we're confused and distracted. And that's why, consistency in events, consistency in the programming that we do. I mean, that's been my life mission that I've come to realize. And it's been going good for the past 3 years. Thanks to the people that come to the chat. Thanks to the people that spread the word. And thank to Daniel because he joined me on this podcast, and Sky. I mean,
Absolutely.
a
everybody's
team. Yeah,
team.
no, but it's all, we're all in our path. That's the beauty of it, Ruben, is we're all on our journey, and it's just like we're all on the 10, man, just going slowly along. We're not on the 405, but we're on our 10, and the 10 today is a red road. But again, dude, I trip out, man, because I know you talk about it, and I know you're proud of this. Is that that you took the discipline to give your 5 days to fasting.
Mhm.
But I trip out off of Ruben that, you share this on the podcast, and it's funny how a lot of people goes over their head. But to me, okay, if you said, okay, at 17 years old, from this day fucking on, I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm not going to do any drugs. Okay, now you tell somebody, hey, you know what? You could just do 5 days. You don't eat. You can do all the, but you just, and that's what I'm saying. But think of that discipline to say, I'm not, because I didn't do that. Fuck, I drink beer. I got, but that wasn't, for me. But I'm just saying, that's like a monk. Those dudes that shave their heads and they don't talk. It's just weird. So I know, brother, that's something that you did, and I trip out over that because, man, I couldn't do that. Now, you talk about your discipline, but to me, that type of discipline's on a whole nother level, because this society does everything it can to get you to smoke and drink, man. And it's like, trip out, because if you don't do that, you're already not part of the colony. You're kind of not fitting in, and so, again, too, certain, to me, yerba, the colony don't like yerba. So me, I embraced yerba, but I'm yerba too. But my point is that you have discipline, brother, that's just like, yeah, it trips me out, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. Like, think of who could do that. Dude, who could choose not to drink or smoke, do nothing. Dude, that's the way you live clean.
Yeah, for 15 years. I
Dude, I'm saying that's a 15-year cycle. But again, too, there's strength. We got to build on our strengths, man. And that's discipline, brother.
To me, I guess I'm, as you're talking about it, it came from a certain place. I knew exactly where it comes from. It comes from my grandmother loving me and doing whatever she possibly can to fulfill my need. Right. I remember that love. So when I became an adult and real stuff happened in my life, like a person got pregnant.
Why do you say a person got? How'd that happen?
My ex,
Sorry.
my baby's mama, I guess.
This is funny.
I just didn't want to say that, but I'm pointing out. What I'm pointing out, when I saw that child be born, I had a responsibility that I, like my grandmother had.
Yes.
Like, I have to make sure that this individual can grow up as best as he can. And now, unfortunately, my grandmother died when I was 7 or 6. So I didn't have too much time, but in that little bit of time gave me an ability to take on another life with the responsibility that my grandmother showed.
But do you understand, Ruben? She rekindled memory in you. That's what it was. And I talk about this. That
makes sense.
They're doing history. We don't do history. We're doing memory. And so what your grandmother gave you in the short time that she was there, she gave you memory. And that's what I realized too, Ruben, is that the calendar, like all this shit was in my house when I was a baby. And I was like, man, it was always there. Why was it there? Because it was the intention to be left there. So once I picked it up, it was like to me, something to play with, but it's something that you like to play with, but it helps us in our life playing this game of the Mexica culture. And so I like it because it's my
memory being a big part of our life makes sense because
it's in your blood.
Yeah.
You always talk about it. I'm just saying, it's.
Oh, no. But because, which leads us into an event that's coming up soon, which is the Day of the Dead.
Yes.
Right. And so that awakens our blood, right? We go to the cemetery or whatever you do to commemorate those that have gone. You kind of get a certain feeling. Like I know when I look at my dad's picture and I look at my grandmother and my grandfather's picture around that day, around that time, you almost feel them.
And Ruben, and imagine back then they didn't have pictures. So you know what I mean? It's just interesting, but it's very important. Again, too, and I'll talk about it in the lecture, but it's really about how the European culture celebrates Hallows Eve. So they're saying, go away, spirit, because we all acknowledge spirits are coming back. But here's the thing, again, too, and I've always said this, they're the people that kill people. So they have issues with the spirit. We don't kill people. I'm waiting for the spirit to come back. You're waiting for your grandmother to come back. It's the only time of the year that you really, really get a chance to see them in your dreams. That if you go deep, they will come and visit you if you remember them. But if you don't remember them, they got no one to visit. And it's just interesting because it's your memory and the things, it's your blood. Because when you're sleeping at night, it's just like you're alive, but you're just in a different world. And so those things, They're in Mictlan. It's Tezcatlipoca. It's the dark side. And we've lived on this planet so long that we understand it. You know, we don't, they called it the devil because they don't understand. They called the devil. Like, that's where they were. We were on a different path. Like, our calendar was telling us Quetzalcoatl was coming back, not the person, the time period. And then now we're born that Tlahuizcalpantecutli was born. You know who that is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's your kid. So that
Yeah.
kid came back. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I dig it because that kid's on my time. We were born around the same time. You know, and again, let me add that. Personally, Ruben, what really, really meant the most to me, and this is what really my own personal shit, is on Monday, you know, we always go to Venice Beach, you know, or we try to go after the plant-based Tatzlan, you know, after event. And it was awesome to have your little boy there. And he was like so jazzed. Hey, you have my money, right? He's like, what is he doing? Like, so he worked and he had his little money set away, right? And so we were there and he picked out a hat. And I just thought to myself, man, how cool was it for him to enjoy himself, be part of your business, and then to go and find something he liked and pay with his own money? And I trip out, brother, because honestly, my nephew, my niece, man, their parents never let them do anything. They wanted to control all their shit. That was my sister. She'd have a shit attack. Oh my God, you let them make his own money. Now he's gonna do his own shit. He's gonna think on his own. No shit. Come on, get them thinking on their own as soon as possible. And that kid, man, is beautiful. And it was, to me, he picked the hat with the blue flower. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. He took such pride in that. I guess just me, I enjoy kids. And I don't have kids, so I get to see your kid just really blossom, man. And just, that's the beauty of, I hate to say it, but that's the beauty of capitalism. If there's a beauty about it, it's for him to be proud of working, making his own shit, and then making his own money. Like, damn, how old is he? 8? You know,
Yeah,
like,
he's 9.
so dude, 9 years old, like, man, that's what I did, Ruben.
Those are the seeds that you plant, you know, and that's what I mean about taking it serious, you know, taking another life serious. And I'm not saying that people in our community don't do it. I'm just saying that that's the lifelong battle, our own mirror, right? We know when we're crossing the line and we're hurting someone, you know, and if that someone is a reflection of you, your bloodline, your energy, I mean, then you got to really look in your mirror, because if we want to heal this place, we need to go there.
Well, you're right, Ruben. We got to heal ourselves, though. And you and I trip out that I think, I mean, truth be told, and I don't like this, but there was a point in my life where I was just a devil, man. I was just gaga. Just a very mean kid, you know, but I was a reflection of the world that was being thrown at me. And I didn't know how to deal with it, you know, but I always say, man, I was so glad and blessed that I found myself by the time I met you and I met your kids, and I got to see how beautiful they were from the, you know, just being little kids. And so it just, because it's not a good world when you're not happy or you're depressed, you know, but when you find your love, when you find your harmony, makes, man, I feel so glad, Ruben, that, but at the same time too, man, I do have a rage inside of me. Fuck, you know, and I got to control that, but I don't throw that at anybody. People pull that out of me. I'm not throwing that around, you know. I like to throw my heart and love, and man, it's always such a joy to be around your place, and it's just, but it's your creation, you know, because you talk about where we were before, and I remember that too, you know, but it's just different when it's your own creation, because when you sell this, you can create some more, you know, and so people,
It's filling a need. It's filling a need in the community. It's like, I don't have to invent something to be wealthy. I need to fill a need in my community. This is how we're connected to the earth,
for sure.
right? Because really, the Mother Earth is giving us, Tonantzin is giving us the energy to complete our task, whatever the need is of the community. So, you know, prior to having Malinali Superfoods, I had a corporation where I worked with autistic kids, but that was a capitalist venture. And I learned a lot and I lost everything. But I found something
But
else.
Ruben, you got a lot of experience, brother. You know what I
No,
mean?
but I found something else, though. I found something else. I found leadership. I found that I had good leadership qualities, that I was unbiased, and that I did my best to make sure that the need was felt. So, I mean, there was a lot of things that I learned from that experience. And now I'm doing it with a community that I love, with a message that I love. It's kind of like if you've always wanted to be a doctor and now you're practicing, you know, medicine, like you fulfilled your goal. Like, I feel like that's what I'm doing. with my music, with the store, with Plant Based Aslan, with Indigenous Peoples Day, with this podcast. This podcast means a lot to me. I'm able to express myself. It's like I get interviewed every week. It's cool to be able to share your opinion with others in a good way. And that's why, we look at the chat and we try to read up as much as we can. And if people want to call in and express themselves, please feel free to do. This is your podcast. This is the time when we'll go into a discussion. Me and you, we'll go in, Daniel and you, Armando and you, Sky, and whoever. This is your podcast. We're creating a community that can't be, I don't want to say a community that can't be broken, a community that will band together for as long as it needs to. That's all we can do.
But too, Ruben, I was going to add is that I think that having Armando, I think, is an added element because, man, I think when you were doing El Vu, like Armando wasn't where he's at yet, you know what I mean? And so I think it's just interesting how things come together, because when, when finally meeting.
Out on how much Armando's been in my life.
No, right. But I mean, I tripped out the other night just meeting him and just hearing, finally, it just, he's a very, how you say, he's kind of, what's that word? He has a lot of good ambition, man, and it's something I envy because, man, I remember feeling that way, and I want to get back on that because, I feel kind of isolated, but I think too that it's just, like, man, it's just you got to keep up with everything, like getting a new camera, that's just part of the the process, and so, but I just think it's nice. I think how things have come together, but again too, I think Creator throws everything, for us that it just doesn't come easy, but it's Creator wouldn't give us anything that we couldn't handle. And so,
and I think that's one of the messages that we have in this podcast is that life isn't throwing stuff at you. Life is challenging you like it should challenge you. Think of a wild animal in the wild. Like, it doesn't get easier for that wild animal. It's harder for it. And not the only problem. What ends up happening is that animal gets good at what he's doing. So then he gets good at living in the wild.
No, you're right. As I say, Ruben, this is a good intro to. I know I had gone off the subject for a while, but I want to get back with speaking of the animals. Is that a couple books that I had talked about, or someone on the chat a few weeks ago had asked for books for parenting or stuff for children, and so I've been waiting to finally get this, but I got a book. It was the Popol Vuh, and so the reason I like this one was that the Popol Vuh is a pretty deep book, but this is a children's book, and it's done by Victor Montejo is the writing, and Louis Garay was the illustrations. But I used this when I was a teacher, and I liked it because it simplified a lot of the creation stories and such. And for anyone out there who wants to maybe learn about the Mayan culture and the Mayan people, the children's books are always good because they keep it very simple, and honestly, the stories were very simple. And when you were saying that, it made me think of the animal stories always had some type of moral and ethical code. And it was true how the animals, they knew a lot. So like this one was Native American stories. Is Joseph Brookhack. It's Bruchac. And when I used to teach, the kids loved this book. And I don't know why I just for people out there, kids love hearing the same story again and again. And I mean, I think I do too, but it's just, but the story about the octopus and raven is a really good story, where octopus was, eating oysters and raven just kept saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And so, he was annoying the shit out of the octopus. The octopus finally just took the raven and stuck him underwater and said, "You know what I'm doing?" And so it's a good story. But the raven, the way the raven is, the next day the raven came back. It's one of the only animals that come back. But it's just cool, and the kids love these stories, and so. But I thought this guy has different books that are plants too, and other stories, but the same author, similar concept. And the last one, and this is one I really like because this one is really, and this author's pretty good. It's Ana Castillo. And this is My Daughter, My Son, the Eagle, the Dove. Interesting about this one, when I read this book, it's pretty simple reading, but I kid you not, man, when I was done with the book, the kids stood up and clapped. I thought I got tickled the shit out of me. But I mean, it's just interesting how but I like this one because it takes an indigenous perspective, and it talks about how it's it's tough being, of culture, and how we have to be strong but not too strong, proud but not conceited. But anyway, it's a good book about having, I guess some type of self pride, but based in Aztec language and stuff. So these are the three books I think. Again, too, the author is pretty good, but in general, native stories that are children based are really good to begin with. But
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you for sharing.
yeah, that's my shit out the books.
I
And
mean,
I got those on Amazon, man. I swear to God, those three books probably cost me about $14-15 altogether.
good.
Now,
good suggestions
shipping
for our
probably twice as much.
yeah. Well, good suggestions for our parents out there that are looking for, alternative stories to tell their children instead for Disney stories. And
Yeah, right.
you start to
But you know
realize
what, too?
how saturated you are with these. Like, you wonder why you obsess about Nikes, right? You obsess about Disney and certain things like that, because when you get old enough to look back and go, damn, I was fucking being bombarded with all this shit.
Right,
It's like
right.
every fucking year there was a new Disney movie. I did it to my own kids, So, oh wow, we're gonna go see the movie or whatever. Um, the flow of energy is, but that's why it's so important to really, maybe every night collectively look in your mirror and see if you're following the intentions that you put out for yourself. I've been doing that. I've been doing that. I've been like, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight, but I don't do it. Now I am. Now I am. Now I'm like super dedicated to it. Like it's almost like breakfast. The
But
extra part of
Ruben, I was going to add too that in terms of, especially with parents out there with their kids, is you just got to spend time with them, man. That's why I really like. I really appreciate how you and your son, that you give him time, that you actually give him quality time. And so I think a lot of parents don't realize that sometimes, because it's just good to ask your kid, hey, what'd you do today, or what do you want to do, and I notice you do that with your kids, and it's just, I noticed that I was raised with options, and if a parent gives us options, it really is it's a good thing, And so,
Yeah.
hey, I'm sorry, this light's kind of messing me up. I think it's having a problem here. Let me see if I can do this a little bit there. Maybe that'll be better. But yeah, I imagine it's tough being a parent. I was a teacher for a long time, so I kind of understand it. But it's not the same. They leave at the end of the day. And
Well,
so
I mean, being a parent motivated me to create this community, to create whatever I did. What I'm doing now is because I'm a parent.
oh yeah, that's a good point. Good
When I
point.
started writing music, I became a parent very young.
Right.
When I started writing music, I felt like my lyrics would always be a pathway home to them. That if I can research, because my job as a parent is to guide, right? And if I go into and ask these really deep questions about life and philosophy and our people and who we are, and I write these songs down, when I'm gone, if my child ever gets lost, he can always go back to my songs because I took that road. And maybe one day he'll have to do it too on his own. I can only give him a guide, little signs, little metaphors. Luckily, it gets received. I write it in a way so that it gets received by a wider audience.
That's a good point too, because from an outside listener, like I could relate to that when listening to your music. It
Yeah.
does you do provide that sense of like guiding one through some kind of journey or through some kind of knowledge. So that's a good way to put it.
But I try to write it in a broad. I'm not gonna, sit there and write every song and name my children. It's more of like, these are the questions. If sometimes as a child, I know when as an adult, I went, oh, I wonder what my dad used to think about this. I wonder what my dad. But I gave them something written, something recorded, something documented, and then they'll review all my interviews from my music, and they'll review what I've done with the restaurant, and that's what we're planting. We're 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 creating the garden like Nezahualcóyotl. We're creating a beautiful paradise. We have to keep that intention. I said this to someone. I said, a warrior has to carry a butterfly in his hand as he fights off the world, right?
Right.
Yes, that butterfly is our community, our love, our family, our ancestors.
It's and so would you say that butterfly is oneself?
Yeah. Well, you
Who
have to
you
take
are,
care of
like
you.
you have to stay true to yourself,
That
right? You
little
can't
boy,
lose yourself.
that little boy, man, that little boy that I was once and you were once, you know,
Hey, but you know what's interesting is that the butterfly is the spirit of the warrior in the Mexica,
mm,
and so it's interesting, because let's face it, Western culture sees the butterfly as something dainty and soft, and it may be, but it's on the wall in Teotihuacan, and so I mean, for a Nahuatl, I use the papalot as that symbol because I use symbols for a Nahuatl that were just up in the stone because to me, the ancestors left them there for a reason, and so for me, I don't care, but there was the stones. So, the papalo, and it's a trip. If you understand the monarch, it goes from Teotihuacan all the way up to Alaska, makes a circle. And here's the trip. It doesn't live to make the journey,
yeah.
it'll die before it completes the journey.
I guess when I said that, warrior has to hold a butterfly in his hand while he fights off the world, it's because I guess my experiences with my family when I had one, were very
When I
special.
had one, you still have one.
Yeah, you still
I
have
mean,
your
I
family.
know, you know what I meant, like,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but it's
well,
funny.
when we were raising the kids, that's what I should have said. We were raising the kids.
You mean when you could hold them?
Yeah, yeah, when they're babies, they're
Right.
so delicate, they're so fragile. But I guess the metaphor for the butterfly is my love. You
Yeah.
create this moment of love, but then the world doesn't care about that. So then you have to, if something comes your way, you have to be alert. You have to be ready to protect. You have to be ready to provide. You have to be ready to build.
Mhm.
This is the warrior's path. One that takes it serious. But you're holding this little moment where you get to sit down with your family and get to eat dinner, or you get to have a moment with your partner, or you get to have this they're very short lived. And most of us want to live in that moment. But we have to either take care of, like, for I don't know, I can't even speak for women, but I can only speak for myself. Is that butterfly in my hand is a metaphor for the love I have for this peaceful moment that I create with loved ones around me. And that happens with my friends, it happens at the store, it happens in the events. But a warrior should be prepared to take care of what he loves, basically, is what I'm saying. Because the world is gonna come at you. No, there's no
Doesn't.
blissful space.
No,
Take
brother,
the warrior's path, be prepared.
I completely agree with you, and I would say this, brother. This is kind of interesting because, like I said, I always said this, man. And I love your kids. Your kids are hella cool, man. And the thing is, if your kids, and I don't mean this, I'm just gonna say it straight. If your kids were fucked up, if you had kids who were in jail and such, and you'd be saying stuff like this, Ruben, it would just not be cool. I'm glad you appreciate that. I just gotta put it out there, brother. Like, dude, all your kids, like, not a one's in jail. They're all like, man, people strive to raise kids the way you've raised your kids, man. And so, like, I appreciate you saying that because, man, but if you were saying that, Ruben, and, like, your kid's in jail and it's like, man, that's just
Right.
like, dude.
Well, I wouldn't say that if that was
Well, hopefully, but dude, I'm just saying, I
I'm just
appreciate.
saying that my grandmother taught me this little thing called love, and and it
Well,
and
I
it,
mean, yeah,
and it
yeah,
wasn't and it wasn't what I think people market in movies, in songs. It's not that.
right.
Love is very painful in terms of trying to keep it alive, right?
Right.
Like say for instance, for my grandmother, right? She died when I was 6. How does a 6-year-old figure out how to keep her love alive? You know?
Well, but Ruben, it's because you're raised in a world where she's gone and she don't come back. It's the end. So think about this. In our world, if you make that connection with her when you go to bed at night, she'll visit you. She'll visit you in your dreams. And the thing is that in life, like my mother, man, like I feel you. I feel that way about my mother, but I also know that I'm her. And so I was taught enough to know that she would make that connection with me. And so, man, I was blessed because she did. And so,
Well, I just came to a conclusion where I didn't need to struggle to remember her, right?
right,
I
right.
don't need to struggle to remember somebody who planted a seed in me that was so profound that it allowed doorways open up thousands of years.
But then you practice though what she did for you every day with your kids. So that I'm saying that it becomes a practice. And so we as natives, like we practiced a different understanding. Because think about it, Ruben, we live in a world of competition, and we did not have a world of competition before. We had a world where, just like us, we come together and we do things together. We are successful together. Not only do we do things
And
successful
sometimes
together,
people stood out. Sometimes
right,
people stood out because of their dedication, because of their discipline. That's what made someone stand out, not because they're trying to make you look
right.
bigger, right?
But Ruben, in our world, though, it was the mujeres that did that. The mujeres were the glue that were sticking all the social stuff together. We did the work, but they were doing all the ground. It's kind of like, again, we're thinking of putting together an event, and we need the females to do the groundwork, and we'll do the work. I mean, it's a team. And
Mm.
so I just think that in our native world, the women did all the administrating, and we came through and did the work. And so if it's just, I understand it. I look at nature, and that's what you see. You see nature doing the same thing. And so we're just mimicking nature, but we're trying to do it better because we're humans. Like, we're on a different level. And so, but again, dude, we're just trying to make our experience better. You're doing it. We're doing it through love, because money doesn't get us there. Money helps make it work. But, you know, with people that care about what they're doing, it's just a passion. And it's like, it's just kind of nice, because I see that Mali Nali is basically like the beehive. People are starting to come together because all the honey. And it's just, it's nature. You've got the beehive there, and people are coming. It's just the honey. And it's just,
It is the beehive. It is the place where you get to see your own mirror and see how beautiful you are, and see
and,
how
and
smart,
how can that be bad?
yeah,
It's only
how
growth.
smart you are, see how wise you are, see how that you come from a people.
That's
Not
funny.
me. It's not just me. Like, fuck, I hope people don't think it's just me.
No,
My
it's funny.
grandfather, my grandfather did not teach me this stuff. They were
No,
well,
but Ruben, it's funny you say that, because there was a guy. I think he was with Yvonne, a guy with Yvonne. I want to say maybe, yeah,
Carlos.
one of her friends. Okay,
Carlos.
what's that?
Carlos.
Carlos. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he told me, he says, "Man, you're pretty smart." And I said, "You know what? You must be smart to know that I'm smart." And he just started laughing. And but it was just such a warm circle. You know what I mean? And just like, people were just really cool. You know what, Ruben? I just felt like I was in a big hug. Just and then not only that, bro. Like, your food there was, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big vegan guy, but man, that stuff was pretty good.
Well, we put out an intention. There was um, prayers let down. There's a lot of focus, and what the 5 days of fasting is a part of that day. The intermittent fasting I do the rest of the year is a part of that day. It gives me the strength and the focus to do it. Me burning a fire on the solstice and the equinoxes, it's part of that day. Remember, I'm using the calendars. Maybe not like the way they did, but in a way that's pure intention. The only times I can mark right now are the times of the solstice and the equinoxes, because I don't have my heart or my spirit or my spirituality or my mathematics or my science connected to a Gregorian calendar. I'm only explaining that I'm following my internal love and heart that connects me with a greater universe and an abundant earth. We all need to erase the fog that the colonials brought, that we don't have power anymore. I'm living the life upon which I'm adding practices to regain my personal power. And that comes with discipline and love.
Right. Right. It starts with your intention, and it's followed by the action, which
Exactly.
becomes a discipline.
Right.
And I think that's the hard part, right?
Being consistent.
Is actually doing the action, right?
Mm.
Is actually physically doing it, not just saying, I want to do it. Or, it was interesting because I was in this class and we were talking about faith, and the person brought this up, like, so much times we get caught up in this faith, like, I don't have enough faith, but it's like that faith is never gonna come. You just have to do. And I heard that, and I'm like, wow, like that's deep. Because so many times I'm like, I gotta have enough faith to do this. I have to have like, there has to be like a momentum in me of, I have to do this, or I have to feel this way to be able to do this. But it's not that. It's just doing it, and from doing it, then it becomes slowly you start to see that you can do it because you're doing it.
That's a good point,
Yeah.
because when I started my road of doing the push-ups, I started off with 8 push-ups, right? But that was the inspiration. Just do it.
Mhm.
You don't have to do the 13 that you want to do, but just do what you can. That part of just doing it multiplies. So now you just got to squeeze in the sacred numbers. Well, if I have to multiply up to a certain amount or a goal, it has to be a goal that's connected to my ancestry, which was 13. So I reached 13 push-ups now, right? And I do sets of 13 4 times, 52. The action, the science, and then I just seem to fall in line with time. When I need to do something, I'm all right on time. There's no stress in my life because I'm using the energies from the moment I see the color change in the sky in the morning. Once I see it turn yellow gold, I know I have a new dream in front of me. And then I'm conscious when I'm working. I don't care if there's, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I really take serious going out at 12 noon and enjoying that energy as well, and trying to put my focus on sunset. This is a rhythm
So it's like the science and the numbers. Would you say that kind of assists to create the routine?
that becomes the consistency.
Okay.
That becomes
But
the
I was
consistency.
going to add in though. Einstein said it, a body in motion stays in motion. So I was going back to what Sky was saying. I think, man, it's just getting excited. I trip out with my dad. It's like that. Once that guy stops moving, he won't get moving again. And it's like they get to that age where you got to keep moving. And sometimes I feel that way too. If I got to get up and keep moving. But but yeah, it's that routine.
A
You
lot
know
of
that
a lot of people think that discipline is difficult, and it is.
it
But
can be.
but if we take the word commitment and we take that word seriously, right? Like when you fall in love with a woman, you make a commitment, right? And you follow it, even though it's hard, even though she disses you, even though she does things that hurt you, but you made a commitment. You have a child, you make a commitment, right? So now we have that word commitment. As long as you take it seriously, put in action. Action is actually doing. So now you have a commitment to what you love and you're following up what you're doing. That's what I did with my body.
Mm.
When I do those push-ups, it's a commitment to myself.
I think that's the greatest commitment you can make, and I'm learning that. Like just being the young person. Like a lot of times when I heard commitment growing up, I thought about it towards others, right? Commitment towards one's parents, commitment towards one's siblings, towards your girlfriend, your boyfriend, etc. But now in my journey, I'm learning, what about the commitment to myself?
Right.
That's where you have to be honest with oneself, and I think that's the hardest part, at least for me, is staying true to these commitments of oneself. Because I think once
But
you
we
can,
define commitment as a specific word.
yeah,
Commitment is love. So if you love yourself, if you're having struggle with commitment, then you need to look internally. What
Right.
is it about me that I'm not satisfying
Mhm.
myself or my life or my dream?
And can I just add, what you're doing there is you're just building character. What is your character? You know, and so it's just, and it's up to you. But also, too, I want to take a side here. And somebody on the chat, man, very good point. It was Moni Moni. It says, my mom once told me that I was too flexible with my kids, and I told her I knew I had to do something different because they were raised the way we were raised didn't work. I'm doing it differently.
Nice.
I like that. I like
Nice.
that,
That's
man.
okay.
But you know what it is?
You're look that, be proud of yourself.
and I'm saying it's the evolution.
Not because you're not following the way of your loved one, of your mother. Of course you love her. I'm sure that you, for whatever situation it is, I don't know the personal
But that's a healthy statement, you know.
it is. It is. That's what I did.
Yes,
My mom would
exactly,
trip the fuck out. My
exactly,
mom tripped the fuck out. What do you mean you're
exactly,
going to
exactly.
Sweat Lodge and where do you get this from? Like, what are you doing? Like,
It's intention.
why are your kids named this way?
It's because your intention is
Right,
your
but I had to
intention.
hold that butterfly. I had to hold that butterfly
Right.
because the world was coming after it.
Right.
And there is no set way to parenting. I think that's one thing we can all agree on. I'm not a parent myself, but I hear a lot of people say, like, when they have their first child, like it's it's a learning process. It's
Right.
you
Through
learn so much
experience.
about yourself, right? Through your kids, and yeah,
But you know what, Sky? I would say, even though not a parent myself, but you got to be honest, man, because your
Mhm.
kids, when you're not honest with them, they know, God, and you're just dumb to think they don't. I just think you deal with honesty, but honesty is a special kind of love. Some people think they love you, so they're not honest with you, and and I'll say this.
Honesty is a good point too, Daniel.
But
Go
but
ahead,
Ruben,
finish.
a lie is rooted in evil. Evil is rooted in a lie, and that's why, man, you just gotta avoid that. Be honest with your kids. Be honest with yourself. A lot of times we're not honest with ourselves, so by default, we're not honest with others. But again, it goes back to what Sky was saying. Commitment, man. Once you realize it's about you, and not in a selfish way, but about making yourself better, then you begin to treat the world that way as such.
Well,
And so
I made a commitment to contribute to my community. So that means I needed to have a healthy body. I needed to be
Mhm.
committed to myself at this point. I'm not going to be overweight, trying to run around.
people do, though.
It's kind of like what you said.
know?
Like it's kind of like what you said about my metaphors. Like if I'm a horrible father, then that metaphor wouldn't make sense. So if I'm going to be a good warrior for my community, well, then I need to make my body reflect what that is.
Right.
And that comes with discipline. And now we know that discipline is commitment, action, and repetition. Commitment to what you love. Because you're going to do the actions and you're going to repeat it until you're the best at it. That is discipline.
And
That is
sometimes,
what
yeah,
built pyramids. That is what built philosophies. That is what built mathematical systems. This is what builds Galpulis. This is what built LA natives. This is it. Commitment, love for myself, love for my community. Actions, I come here every Wednesday. And I continue to do it as best as I can, as best as I can. And every time I do it with love. And my friends are here, sharing their experiences. This is discipline. It's love. You don't think a tree, when it's like standing up 300 feet high, it's like proud of being a tree, right? It's fucking
funny.
love itself. It loves itself. Look at how it extends itself, how many animals live on it. I don't know. I just take it to those places. That's what makes discipline easy for me. Because it's a commitment to my own, how I love myself. Just look in the mirror and don't be afraid. I'm not afraid of my reflection. My smoky mirror is my connection.
Is that a song? Is that,
I wrote that.
is that from a
But,
song?
yeah, I wrote that in a song. But that's the point. It's like sometimes I think about, do this exercise. Go in front of a mirror by yourself. It's not a seance, but just stay there and look at yourself in the mirror and see what you say about your own self. Take 30 seconds, a minute, 4 minutes, 10 minutes, and see what thoughts come about yourself. Now I look in the mirror, I'm super happy about who I am. I get tired, but I know that my intention is being seen not only by the community that I'm creating here with LA Natives or Malenali Superfoods, but there are other organizations, nonprofit organizations that go, man, this is an amazing idea. This is a great situation. Man, this is beautiful.
Look at what you pulled off on Indigenous Peoples Day. It's only getting bigger. It's not like it's getting smaller, right, Zero?
Absolutely.
Like, I think we got something cooking with Indigenous Peoples Day. And remember, it all started with the plant of like Dakota Bear, right?
Yeah.
Right.
People inviting people from other territories to come to our territory as we recognize ourselves again, as we understand that we are Indigenous people, that we are the biggest tribe on Turtle Island, that their rape of our grandmothers and grandfathers does not give them legitimacy over our heritage, over our bloodlines, and over our lands. And that's not a declaration of war. That is just me rooting myself to Tonantzin and all the teachings that my grandfathers left for me. That's what that is.
So, shout out to those workers that were like helping block off the street. Like, I don't know if they were city workers or
Johnny.
Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, Johnny and Eddie Torres. Yeah,
E.T.
Shout out to him. If it wasn't for him, we really wouldn't close this street down. But it was a unique experience because he's not indigenous. He's clearly something different, and it's okay. This is what I had to tell all the community. Like, some people had an issue with me bringing a police officer up on stage and saying, "Hey, you know what? Thank you for coming. Thank you for recognizing our event." He needed.
You
to
know
be
what?
there.
I respect the police, but there is a majority of the times I'm like FTP. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, Zero, like if your house gets broken into, or if you get burglarized, who are you gonna call, bro?
Well,
It's a tough situation, isn't it?
to me, it's like if you're aware of your surroundings, if you're disciplined in your life, if you have a strategy to live on a very dangerous planet, then they're irrelevant.
So how were you able to pull the police on stage? Like he actually allowed
No,
you to do that?
he needed to sign off on the permit, because you need
Oh.
to have law enforcement sign off on the permit. And then Eddie Torres thought it was a good idea to show, since he did that, give him some space. And all they want to do is engage with the community and tell them.
What was his nationality?
I don't know. I think maybe either Hawaiian or Asian, something like
Okay.
that. He was not Mexican though. And I have, it's important that we govern ourselves, but that's a whole nother topic. But I felt like, as someone that has leadership qualities or influence in my community, that you have to meet with enemies. It doesn't mean that you go to battle with them or that you talk bad about them. When we gather in a serious way, But I'm not gonna go there. Oh, you fucking asshole! Why are you here? It's like, that's immature.
Fuck the police, blah, blah,
It's
blah.
like,
Yeah,
there's a moment.
that's my job.
There's a time and a place for that, right? When they harm someone unjustly, when they take someone away unjustly, those are things. That's when you. But not when we're all gathering and little kids are running around and people are. That just shows you that we're not afraid of them. Yeah, come here, check it out. We're not doing shit. What the fuck you want?
In my experience, bro, like growing up, getting into trouble, I fucking hate cops, bro. Like, no one's gonna try to convince me that they don't stereotype. There's like a narrative out there that they just do their job and just follow the rules and obey. Nah, homie, like every cop out there fucking stereotypes. They have a God complex, or they just think, since because they have a badge, they're the better than you. I don't know, Daniel. That's my experience.
No, I'm with you, man. But it's interesting, Armando. Just recently, I think you have to have a college degree now to be a cop.
Get the
Like,
fuck out
like
of
they,
here.
you know what I'm saying? It's weird. Like but I can't disagree with you. But I think what's crazy is that, like, we need cops. Okay, I totally agree with that, man. We need them. But man, it's like I've always said, I love cops. I just hate pigs.
I just, I see the picture in a different way. Like, dude, we're in a concentration camp. We're in a place where other people who wear uniforms and have metal badges on them have more authority over our lives. That's what a plantation was. There was an overseer. An overseer could beat you up whenever he wanted to. He could rape you whenever he wanted.
But Ruben, but that authority comes from their guns.
There is a side, if a cop messes up, you could fucking sue him. And
yeah.
But what are but if we did the fucking statistics on those that get sued, those that get fired, the statistics, those are like kind of token ones where, in a plantation where an overseer goes over the line and the slave master goes, "I'm getting rid of you. You're out of here." And he sends them to another plantation he owns down the street. Yeah, he got rid of them there, but he didn't solve the problem of abuse and all that stuff that comes with being of that authority. It's not that they have a God complex, it's that they actually have more authority over you. They could say, "You did this," and then they took your freedom. That's what an overseer does. In a plantation, we got to break out of the reality that we live in a moral place and everybody fights fair and nobody fucking... No. Be a warrior. Be aware. Look again. Be aware again. Find a way. Lead your family through the forest. This is a dangerous place. This is a desert. This is a fucking forest. It's dangerous here. Think of them like that.
And for all the youth out there,
that's the way I think of them.
I recommend comply. Don't get beat up by a fucking cop.
No, agreed. Even in the chat, the guys say always be respectful.
your rights are being violated. But ultimately, bro, I just wish when I was younger, I would just comply, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
if you're caught, you're caught. And if you could wiggle your way out of it by complying and going to the station and knowing that you didn't do anything wrong and you get out of it, boom, que bueno. But if you struggle in the mouth of a predator,
Yeah, good point.
you're
That's a good
destroying
point.
yourself. Don't
But
don't
here's the thing that
struggle in the mouth of a predator. Avoid the predator. Outsmart the predator. Be a fucking 10 steps ahead of that predator.
But Ruben, I just want to say something too. Okay, and this is it, just straight. They don't have authority. What they have is a gun, and that's it, man. If they had authority, they wouldn't need the gun. And I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Is that their whole authority, all their shit, they didn't sign. Like I said, they broke all the treaties. Like recently, talking about it again, that the government they set contracts, and if they don't abide by those contracts, they have no authority. This is why they carry a gun. They all come with a gun, and like it's crazy because even the law is set up. If I legally have a gun, it can't be loaded. I can't have it ready to go. They can. They come with that shit loaded. So it's just interesting how the law itself sets it so that I can't protect myself legally, but they come like that. And so it's just interesting. It's not their authority. It's the fact they have a gun, man. And it's
Oh,
just like, understand
because
that. They
this is
come with guns. They don't
because
come with fucking authority, and
this is a plantation. They're in charge of, okay, tell you what, you didn't pay your taxes, there's arrest warrant. Who comes and gets you?
you're right, with a gun. With a gun. They don't come with a guy with just
They
a
come.
pencil
So
and
we're
pad.
not in a free society. It's an illusion of freedom. This is an illusion of freedom. And
But understand that, Ruben,
this,
they're
and
in charge.
this next election is really cramping down. I don't know if you guys pick it up, but I pick it up that we can probably in the next 5 years or 10 years be considered something negative, because we're trying to bring awareness and an alternative away from the state, away from the people that are so-called in power, that we put in power, that we vote into power. Both of them are saying crazy shit. And not that I believe in it. This is a jungle to me. I will survive. I will. I'll make sure, because I'll fast. I'll make sure that I can navigate all my loved ones through these pit holes. And, they're not as smart as they think they
Well,
are.
but right, Ruben, it's interesting to me. Okay, and like I said, I grew up here. I've never been a flag waving American. Just because in third grade they told me, nah, you're Mexican. Okay, so but again, that's my history. But we're living in an age, and I've always known this, and it kind of trips me out that the American flag, to some people, represents genocide, represents terrorism, represents a lot of shit that I myself, I don't go waving the flag ever. If I ever have events, I don't push that agenda at all. Because today, let's say if you see it, well, better yet, someone hates this country, they see that gringo flag, and if they're shooting at people, they can be shooting at that flag. And I just understand that I don't have control over that. But when you're having an Indigenous Peoples Day, I'm just saying, man, it's different this year. In all years past, it's different, man. It's different because now there's bombs that my taxes are paying for, and I don't have no control over it. They're fucking killing people on a major level, and it's got the American gringo flag on there. And then you've got American politicians signing, kiss heaven, and that's just, again, dude, these are the killers. And so that gringo flag used to
But that
represent
says
a bunch of
everything.
things.
That says everything, though. The fact that we even could. That's what I'm trying to say. Is there's not.
Yeah, but I'm not part of that. I'm not trying to
There's not
be
going to
part
be.
of that. And it's just, it just kind of sucks when that shows up, and it's like, again, too, they're completely in their legal right to do that. But I mean, it's kind of like you can call people the N-word, but man, you look at the consequences. I mean, they're just things that you can legally do it, but it's not cohesive with the society. We're not all feeling that. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. The United States American citizen will do that. Well, go ahead, it's my right. And they'll put one person against 500 people and say, well, it's my right. And then they'll have the police come and defend that one individual, which is like, it's weird shit, weird shit. Like, you remember
Well, it's not weird. It's kind of like
but it is weird, Ruben. It's weird,
con.
like that
It's a
5
con,
million.
bro. It's a
No,
con. We can't
it's a con.
we cannot live in a society just because we live in a city, or we see a TV and it says, we see politicians going, freedom for everyone, everyone's equal. Da, da, da. That's such a con. This is a wild place. Yeah, we built buildings on it. It's kind of like when our ancestors looked at the valleys and said, oh, there's a fort there. What is that? What is that wooden wall? What is the buildings that are inside this wooden wall? Now we're inside that wooden wall going, why isn't everything equal? And because we didn't build the wall. The ball was built to trap us. Now, once we go outside of that wall, then the world becomes wild. I'm speaking metaphorically. And I don't expect them to ever have any morality. When I get trapped by a police officer, I already know he's corrupted. I already know he's a predator. Am I going to struggle? Am I going to destroy myself by trying to struggle and wiggle my way out? Or am I going to be aware and figure my way out? Remember, I'm dreaming. This is the Toltec way. These are higher levels of understanding, controlling your dream, not even getting close to them because you live in a wild space. You live in a world of danger. Don't ever be conned with, we're going to be free and you're equal and I love you and then fucking sticking a knife behind your back. They're wild predators and I stay away from them and I stay away from their philosophies and I stay away from anything they say. Because I don't believe them. They're liars. They never came with truth. We tried to show them truth. Daniel is still trying to teach them truth. They don't have truth. They never had truth. So don't fall into there'll be one day where they'll be moral. Cops are corrupt. Politicians are corrupt. Everyone who's in charge of the way you're supposed to behave is corrupt. So be a wild animal. Erase their cage that they built for you with discipline, with philosophy, with mathematics, with science, with intention, with community. That's why I think the answers are. We can't wait for the cops to be. I mean, think about it. Name one good police department where every fucking cop in the police department is fucking out there to defend your rights.
I don't know about that. The thing is, Ruben, what I'm thinking of is I think of not the Million Man March, but the May Day March when it was in LA. Then there were millions of people marching in LA. And there were protesters of the anti-labor there, and the cops surrounded them and protected them. It was just interesting that you had millions of people, and the police were protecting the people that were going against the protest. And so you got millions of people. And so the thing was interesting to me. Everybody saw it, and the police had to see it too. And so I'm just saying, man, and I know what you're saying. I don't mean to defend what you or belittle what you said, but I'm just saying, man, we're millions of people.
Well, look, you described a protest.
Right, May Day. It was May Day. And so the thing is that
you didn't describe a yearly ceremony based on that we gather 1 million every time. Every single year for every single summer, we gather 1 million down the street because we tell them we're in charge here. Remember, we're consistently together. No, we get mad, then we all get on one street and we all fucking flip up everybody off, and then we go home and we feel better because we protest. No, it's consistency. Remember the discipline, the commitment, the love, the action, the repetition. That's what shows power, in my opinion. If we just think of getting mad and gathering everybody for one fucking day, maybe 2 years in a row, it's non-effective. But if we gather every year, 1 million, every year you can expect 1 million motherfuckers on that street. Oh my God, that will be different.
Well, Ruben, on that day, the media didn't forecast, didn't show all the people. There was pictures of it, but then they suppressed it. But here's the thing, though, even though they suppressed it, if you were a part of that march, you knew how many people were there, and so it's just
This is why the calendar counts, the disciplines, the mathematics. Don't just gather information. Understand the information to apply it into your life. This is what defeats protest. This is what defeats oppression. This is what defeats colonialism.
Right.
It's the consistency of a community coming together
Right. Right.
where nothing stops it. Nothing stops it. Like that's what we're trying to build with Indigenous Peoples Day. Nothing is going to stop it.
Right. Right. But you, Ruben, in the chat, they said, do you think maybe they protected them because how much worse it could have been if they hadn't, because there were so many of them? I wasn't there that day, but I know, I think they had like 20 cop cars came in front of the store, back to the Anawak store, and then they got on the PA and they tried to say, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Just tried to question the cops. And man, 20 cop cars, maybe 50,000 people. Could you imagine what those cops look like? They got back in their cars and they just pulled out, and they were just scared as shit. Okay, but what I'm saying is that, like, people don't get that. People don't get that, like, we don't even need to be violent. We're just so many of us, and like, you can't, like, they're trying to, and it's crazy because, like, I hear it all the time, and I trip out because John Meany, who wrote that book, man, years ago, and if you remember, part of the reason that he got famous was he conducted a protest, and he was smart, and he did it in a way it was well done. And the thing is, man, it doesn't take much to throw off these fools because they don't even have a plan. But it's not about throwing them off.
I don't believe in, like, and I don't mean to belittle your idea.
No, it's not. It's just, it's just
protests
a lot of us. There's
not work. Ceremonial gatherings work. Ceremonial prayers that are specifically positioned, and we can use very simple markers. Solstice, equinox, gather your family, do an intention, do something. Now, if we get it to a point where we're in the May Day style for the May Day protest or whatever it was, instead of it going, you're not going to mistreat us. No, we're gathering because we're showing you. Every year we're showing you 1 million people show up, and each year it gets bigger. Now it's 2 million. Now it's 2.5 million. Right? You watch
those things are real, though, Ruben.
You'll see the social people that work for, keeping things in order start to shrink. I mean, they'll probably even bring the military out at that point.
I don't think you're understanding, man. For what? What are they going to do?
Yeah,
when you got millions of people,
millions of people can show up if we decide to show up, not because we're mad.
No, it's definitely not. But the thing is, Ruben,
we're showing consistency because we love ourselves.
But this system's on the verge of breaking constantly, and it's going to be a natural disaster. I'm telling you, it's going to be really simple. It's not going to take a lot, but it's just going to take, I mean, as it is, come on, think of people when they lose their phone for 20, 40 minutes. They fucking lose their shit. So imagine, I'm just saying, Ruben, it's just a natural disaster is going to set so much shit on, like, point. It's going to make things level, and it's all good because I lectured in 2005, 2006. If y'all don't see it, man, I'm sorry, but just pack your water. At least have something set for a week. You know what I mean? If shit goes down for a week. But I'm just saying, when the full moons come out, watch the way the earth moves. And it's just, these aren't, again, we're talking about eating well. So, like, think about it. The shit hits the fan, you're gonna have to fast. It's just gonna be part of what you got to do. Again, I'm not trying to scare people, but it's just that's part of the discipline. Is understanding that so many things that they're trying to scare us into, it's not gonna work. Like look at those 3 states that got watered on, on the East Coast. You know what I mean? It just,
like I'm saying, Mother Earth is unpredictable.
Right.
Mother Earth gives us sustenance. We don't need to defend it, protect it, or any of that stuff.
But we're in a time of movement, Ruben, that this is the 6th sun. Like, the thing is that the calendar's telling us about this. It's telling, that's why I trip out, man, that, like, yeah, global warming, but the thing is that it's just the spiral is just getting stronger. It's all it is. And all the weather things, they're spirals. Everything's a spiral. You know what I mean? And so if you understand that theme and that nature, because our buildings have been here through all these, we've gone through this 5 times already. And so it's just interesting,
Man. Chat is lit. We have a great handful of people watching us right now live, Zero. It's already fucking 10:30 at night. Dude, this is post Indigenous Peoples Day. It was an amazing event.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to next year, Zero. Like it's history in the making, bro, and it's prophecy, to be honest with you.
Yes,
yeah.
it is, Mondo. It totally is. It is
Oh yeah,
prophecy.
it's funny because you played the song that had the mandate of Cuauhtémoc, and in that mandate, he said that we would return,
Yes.
and we just have to really mold what that is. What does it mean that we'll return? You know, we get inspired by Zapata and Pancho Villa, but we're not in that time anymore. You know, we use their examples of bravery to go up against forces that we're not, but we need to use our intellectual understanding, our science, our calendars, and understand that we're in the force of nature, not defending it. We don't have power over it. They're trying to convince us really hard that they have power over this stuff. No, but they don't. They don't. Nature has power over us. We need to flow with the wave, not we're powerful like we can, you know, we can disrupt the 1,000-foot wave
But
of
the
water.
thing is, but Ruben, we're the turtle, though. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's showing the now lean, you know. But if you look at it sideways, it's the turtle. You know, it's got the back and the 4 feet. You know, and it's got two. So it's interesting. You know, Turtle Island. You know, it's like, and what's interesting, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. What's interesting, Canada already said, "Hey, we apologize for doing what we did." Mexico asked for Spain to apologize for what they did. The United States hasn't even acknowledged that they're fucking on native land. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So it's like it's going to take a while, but we're going to connect, and at some point they're going to have to acknowledge what happened. You know that we're the original people here, and we're the ones with authority, just like they were talking about in Canada.
This
We're
is
part of the place, you know, and
this is
so
this is why it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm going to explain it before we go. But that thank you for bringing up the turtle. And the fact that I love the turtle, you know why I love the turtle? I love the turtle because it protects itself. It doesn't rely on anything else but itself to go inside that shell and protect itself. That's what we need to do in life, in the society. We need to learn
it's
how
a
to
good metaphor. Yeah, yeah,
we need to learn how to protect ourselves. When we learn how to protect ourselves and we teach everyone that they all have a shell, then everyone learns how to protect themselves. You know, Turtle Island is not. It's so many metaphors within that thing. But I'm gonna say that we're gonna have an uphill battle because I was looking recently at what happened in Palestine, right, or what happened in Iraq, and someone said that they saw kids that looked Asian, African, and white, but they were from Iraq, right? Here's stay with me on this. These kids were a product of military rape. So they created these offspring that they didn't. They're going to go back to Rome. They're going to go back to the U.S. They're going to go back to their homeless. Who gives a shit about these kids? These kids are poor kids that live on the street because their mother doesn't even want them because they're a product of rape. That's who we are. Does it take away the fact that they were from that land? That the mother that they raped was originally from that land? It's almost like these kids are just these erased kids. They don't care because they're a product of war and the rape of war. We have to understand that we're those kids. No one lovingly came to us. It was just, and then they left. They didn't give a shit. But we gave a shit because we give a shit about ourselves. When we give a shit about ourselves, then we learn how to protect ourselves like that great turtle. So we'll see you next week. Lots of